Oh, it's so good to be back. I have a voice. I'm healthy. I'm no longer plagued. So, welcome to Melissa's Musings. For those of you who are joining on in or watching on the replay, I am Melissa Steele, host and real estate extraordinaire of Melissa's Musings. But it has been quite the hiatus. I have not even barely come to you guys in all of March, and the reason being I caught a kind of flu-y type cold 2.5 weeks ago. Oh, and it was really killer. I died. No, I'm finally back to living, but oh my goodness, it really knocked me out, and I got to truly prioritize myself and my care and my rest and my business in any free time that I had. So Melissa's Musings obviously got put on the back burner, but I am super happy to be back. And this is actually a message that I had wanted to share with you guys for a really long time, for over 2 weeks, because this happened 2 weeks ago, and it's a very valuable lesson, one that means a lot to me and that I've learned a lot from, and one that I encourage you guys to stick through and listen to this little story that I'm going to share with you, because it can be really powerful to recognize where we're telling ourselves stories and where those stories might be tripping us up. That's exactly what happened to me just a couple weeks ago, and I really get to share and be open with you guys about what that looks like for me, so that hopefully it can help you identify where you might be coming up with some really unsupportive stories in your own life. So thank you guys so much for watching. I see a bunch of you joining in. Gail, Noon. Oh, I waved. I didn't know that was possible. Oh, I'm going to wave at all of you. Jenny, Gail, hi guys. How fun. I didn't know waving was a thing. Thanks, Facebook. So I'm basically just going to dive right in. And for those of you who join in, I encourage you to go back and start at the beginning of the story, because I'm going to just dive in. So this goes back actually a couple months. So a few months ago, I have a really close friend here in San Diego. I'm going to call her Jenny. So Jenny is getting married very soon, and I found out through the grapevine. Well, actually, John got invited to the bachelor party of Jenny's husband, or future husband. So John and the guys have been planning this for months, and they're getting all excited about going, and it's probably November, December, and they're planning theirs in February, and the wedding is in March. And basically I'm thinking to myself, I haven't heard anything from the girls. I wonder if I'm going to be invited. But they're a really close friend of ours, so I'm thinking to myself, and it's very close friends in a whole group. So there's a bunch of us that all hang out together. So John and that whole group of guys is planning, and I don't hear anything from the group of girls. And we've all been there, right? And especially us women. Here I am creating the story for myself of I must not be... Sorry, phone call. They don't know I'm musing right now. It's actually my grandma. I'm surprised she's not watching. Hi, Anna. Hi, John. Thanks for watching. Thanks for joining in. So basically, as women especially, for those of you girls out there watching, we've all been there, right? You find out your girlfriends are hanging out without you or planning something without you, and you automatically create the story of oh my god, I'm not invited, something must be up, maybe I did something to piss them off. So I start creating the story for myself in my head, and what I do is I reach out to my other friend in this group of friends, and I'm hey girl, have you heard anything about the bachelorette party? Because I'm feeling maybe I'm not invited, I'm left out. And I don't know if it was her intention at the time, but her response, unintentional or intentional, I don't know, made me feel like I was not going to be invited. It was kind of hey girl, so sorry, I'm pretty sure the bridal party, or the bridal, pretty sure the bachelorette party is going to be bridal shower only, or bridal party only, you may not be invited, so sorry. So immediately the story that I created for myself, I was oh my god, I'm not invited. Here John is with this whole group of guy friends going to the bachelor party. My entire group of girlfriends is going to go to the bachelorette party, and I'm not invited, seemingly, the story that I've created for myself. And I got really upset. Really upset. I cried about it. I had a moment. I called some of my other best friends. I was oh my god, I don't know what I did to this friend that I'm really close friends with, Jenny, that I obviously love and would so want to be at her bachelorette party. I don't understand why I'm not invited. So I created this massive story, and I had this massive meltdown, and I'm just going to say, I allotted a lot of energy unnecessarily to something, that I created a story around. Hi peeps, thanks for joining in. I see so many of you guys on here. George, Stacy, Anna, thank you guys for watching. Hopefully I'm joining you on like your commute home or something and really brightening up your space. That's what I'm here for. But ultimately you're joining, if you're just joining in, you're hearing a story and you're getting looped into a story of a story. Basically, I am reminiscing about a story that I created for myself that was very unsupportive. So here I am, I'm creating this story for myself. I'm like, what did I do that pissed Jenny off to such an extent that I'm not invited to this bachelorette party? Like, I'm such close friends with her. So it like eats me up, like literally eats me up for like 2 days. And then I finally text Jenny. So I'm like, you know what? Maybe the friend is misinformed. Maybe this friend I reached out to is totally misinformed. I'm just going to talk to her straight up. I'm going to shoot her a text. I'm going to let her know how I feel. So I shoot her a text and I'm like, hey girl, I don't know if anything's been planned for the bachelorette, but so-and-so friend made me feel like I'm not invited. And if I'm not invited, totally fine, but I would love to like know if there's any way I could support you, you know, through the weekend, or like any way I can be a part of your special. Jeez, I'm just like the most popular person right now. Sorry guys. I'm glad to see that my grandma joined in. Yeah. I just declined your call. And I'm so glad to see that you're on the Musing. This is why I declined your call. I'm here in this space instead. So basically, I reached out to my friend and I sent her the message directly and I was like, hey girl, like what's going on? Because here I am festering in my own story, crying to myself, feeling like a depresso around the fact that like here I am. And like literally my ego conversation is like, and this is a serious conversation, right? We've all been there. My ego conversation is, you're a piece of shit. You must have done something that pissed her off. Literally all 10 of your friends are going to be wherever the bachelor party is going to be and you're not going to be invited. Loser. Right? Like we've all had that internal conversation. So that's the story that I'm running with as I text my friend. I'm like, hey girl, what's up? Why am I not invited to your bachelorette party? Like having a moment. She responds being like, hey girl, why did you ever think you weren't invited to the bachelorette party? My sister's planning it. You're on the invite list. Like, am I missing something? Interesting. So what I got to do was talk to her about what was coming up for me and the story that I created for myself. And I was like, okay, wow, based on the communication from ex-friend, totally created a story for myself that I wasn't invited to your bachelorette party, that I'd done something that pissed you off. So I got to clear a space with Jenny, the friend whose party it actually was, who I created a story for myself with that I wasn't invited. So there's literally nothing going on with that friend. I was invited the entire time, but created a story for myself. And then what I actually got to do with the other friend who said, hey girl, like I think the party might be bridal party only, I actually got to call her and I got to clear the space with her too. And I got to say, hey, I totally get where you're coming from. You probably wanted me to be realistic and like, but the interpretation that I took and the story that I created for myself from your text was that I wasn't invited and it made me feel really shitty. And next time I would encourage you to, check out your sources and make sure that somebody's not invited to something before you let them know that, because I was really hurt. And I created a story that Jenny was mad at me. So all this happens, right? And months go by. So turns out I'm invited to the bachelorette party. We all get together, we book our flights, blah, blah, blah. I'm excited. Everything's awesome. And 2 weeks before the bachelorette party was the bachelor party. So John is off with all of our guy friends and I planned a girls' day for myself because what better opportunity? I'm not somebody who, I get lonely. So I'm not going to feel sorry for myself and I'm not going to stay home all weekend and feel sorry for myself. So what I did was I planned things for myself, and one of those things was a girls' day. So I planned this girls' day and I texted all of those girlfriends and invited them to my girls' day, and nobody responded. And I was like, huh, that's weird. And immediately that story started to creep back in. And that little ego conversation was like, well, what'd you expect? You weren't invited to the party in the first place. And I was like, huh, nobody's responding. And that ego conversation flared up real freaking quick, let me tell you guys, because of that prior experience, because of this story that I'd created previously for myself, this whole interaction that I've now had with these few girlfriends and like continually feeling like I'm left out. So right away, what flared up for me was my story. Okay, they don't want to come to my girls' day. A few days pass and I follow up with a second text. One of them responds, she's been super busy, totally understandable. Okay, awesome. Story diminished. She has a reason. Other one responds, blah, blah, blah. Turns out that all three are busy for my girls' day. No worries at all. life happens. Well, I find out through the grapevine that Friday they got together and had a movie date and a sleepover. So I woke up Saturday morning, cheery as pie, excited for my girls' day, get on social media, and I see that I am the only one who did not attend the sleepover on Friday night. And immediately that ego conversation, dude, I started crying. That ego conversation was like, loser, 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 loser. You didn't get invited to the sleepover. You weren't going to be invited to the bachelorette party. You didn't get invited to the sleepover. You're a piece of shit. Literally, that's the conversation. And it flared up so big and so dramatically so fast because of that prior experience. And so what did I do? I put energy towards it. I cried. I called John. I was like, here you are having a great time, and I'm trying to create a great time for myself here in San Diego, and I invited them all to my girls' day, and they all created plans without me, and I'm feeling really left out, and I'm feeling really hurt. And that's where I was at. I was feeling really left out, and I was feeling really hurt. Like, bottom of the line, I let the emotion come through me. The story I was creating for myself was that, you know, the girl whose bachelorette party it was didn't have any intention of inviting me in the first place. I got a pity invite, all this bullshit that we create for ourselves, right? And Saturday comes and goes. I have a blast at my girls' day. I'm like, screw it. I'm going to have a great day at my girls' day. I have a great day at my girls' day supported by 10 other women who are amazing friends. And Sunday morning, I get a text from Jenny, friend whose bachelorette party it is. John, fuck Jenny and her whack-ass girls. No, this is actually going to be something really interesting. So Jenny is not to be fucked because Jenny actually really was a true and supportive friend. So Jenny, friend, Sunday morning, I wake up and I've got a text from her. And it says, hey girl, I don't know if you saw that I had a sleepover on Friday with the other friends, but I wanted to share with you how that went down because I'm not sure if you ended up seeing it, or I'm not sure, you know, if you ended up hearing about it, but if you find out that I had a sleepover on Friday, I want to be clear with you about how that went down for me so that you aren't hurt by it. So she reached out and she was really direct, and I was like, I saw on social that you had a sleepover, and to be honest, I was really hurt by it. I would love for you to, like, elaborate. Please tell me more, because I would love to not hate you right now, right? So she basically outlines this whole scenario, and what had ended up happening was she had been invited to the movies by the other girls who had a sleepover planned together, not including the woman whose bachelorette party this was, whose husband literally was at the bachelor party himself. So they planned this movie night and invited her to the movie night, but not the sleepover. So when she was dropping them off at home after the movie night, they were talking about this sleepover, and she was like, hey guys, like, did you not think to invite me to the sleepover or Melissa to the sleepover? And they hadn't. They had been planning their own exclusive sleepover situation, and she was really hurt by it and told them in that moment, and they ended up being, you know, really having it out in that moment, apparently. So, you know, so it's been shared with me, but having it out in that moment, and she was basically like, I'm hurt by the fact that you didn't invite me to the sleepover when it's my husband's bachelor party that all of our mutual guys are at. I'm hurt that you didn't invite me, and I'm hurt that, like, you know, I haven't been involved in this plan. So they ended up, spur of the moment, inviting her into the sleepover that I obviously had nothing to do with, because not only was I not at the movie night, I wasn't invited to the sleepover. So, one, so thankful that my friend reached out and thought to herself, you know, with social media and all that we have, and like basically how news travels, she just wanted to be open with me. Whether or not she knew that I knew about the sleepover, basically she didn't know if I knew about the sleepover, right? But she was straight up with me. She literally texted me and said, hey, don't know if you knew about the sleepover Friday, but here's what ended up happening. And she did that because she knew that what had happened was hurtful, and she was a good enough friend to reach out to me. And what was so powerful for me in that experience was, one, recognizing how powerful the story is that we create for ourselves. Because my immediate thought process was, I got a pity invite to the bachelorette party, and they obviously don't want to hang out with me because I'm not at the sleepover that they all had together. That was the story that I created for myself immediately. Like, instantaneously. And it was so powerful when she reached out to me to really be open in her communication. You know, it was just so reassuring, one, to recognize and really value the true friendship that I have in her, and to appreciate her and acknowledge her for that. And then 2, to like really recognize me and where my responsibility lies in this whole situation. Yeah, you guys, those of you who are joining in right now, Shelly, Lena, I love all you guys so much. Thank you. But go back and watch on the replay because this is like a good story. And I know you girls have been there, especially because John, my cousin John said, seems like one of those other girls are really tacky. Honestly, I've had to clear space with one of those other girls like half a dozen times. And it's something that keeps coming up. And it has me sometimes question, like, what are the motives of that friend and is that a true friend? So absolutely, it's something that really sheds a lot of light on who your true friends are and who's being open and honest and truly transparent in all aspects of a relationship. Because I don't care if I'm not invited to something. Believe me, like, my time is my most valuable resource. So if I'm not invited to something, that is so fine. But I would like to know, like, why I'm not invited, or if it's something that, like, literally everyone else is going to, like, Melissa, I thought you wouldn't be the best fit for this because of why? Dump that bitch. Nuna says, dump that bitch. Oh, you're too funny. No, I mean, but it really was awesome because my other friend, like, it was such a clear indication, okay, like, this is such a true friend to me. She thought to herself, I felt so hurt by the fact that I wasn't invited to the sleepover that Melissa must be hurt, right? Whether she knew or not that I knew about the sleepover, she was like, I gotta reach out to Melissa because I was so hurt that I know she's gonna be hurt. And that was an indication of a true friendship. But really, for me, it was such a great opportunity for me to reflect on my responsibility because one of my biggest things is FOMO, a fear of missing out. And it's hardcore. I often sacrifice myself and my own well-being just to go to something that I may have committed to or have a fear of missing out on. And I will be honest with you, probably about 70% of the time, I'll go to something that I maybe was not fully committed to but felt a FOMO to, and I'll be miserable the whole time I'm there. And I'm like, why did I even come to this, Melissa? FOMO check. Like, why did you do this to yourself? So for me, it's such a great opportunity to reflect on my responsibility and my fear of missing out. And like, why does that keep coming up for me, right? Because honestly, what ended up happening over the weekend is I got to go to the bachelorette party. It was awesome and it was fun. And I also sacrificed myself because it was the first weekend of my sickness and I really pushed it to be able to go. I truly love this friend Jenny and I wanted to go, so I pushed myself and I am so grateful that I did and that my body held up as long as it did. But I will tell you that it was a rough weekend and I woke up so goddamn sick on Sunday morning that I literally had to pay to switch my flight earlier and come home earlier. That's how sick I was by Sunday. So many lessons for me to learn and so many opportunities for us to reflect on the stories that we create for each other or for ourselves and for each other, really, because I created so many stories about my friends and so many stories about the thoughts that they were having around me and, you know, not being invited to something. And I know that for us women especially, that comes up a lot. I mean, I know that I've had gatherings where I have unintentionally, like so not intentional, have maybe forgotten to just text someone and like, I'll be like, oh, I totally forgot to invite that person, shoot. And I'll have to text them and I'll have to clear the space because, you know, I know how much that can hurt. So it was a great opportunity for me to reflect on the stories that I create for myself because let me tell you, they happen. And I am queen of creating some doozies, it turns out, especially when it comes to my FOMO and my fear of missing out. And had my friend Jenny not been so open and understanding, it could have really, you know, added a lot of friction to our relationship. So I'm really glad that she was so open and understanding to where I was at and the stories that I was creating. And thank you guys so much for listening. And I'm so happy to be back to the land of the healthy and the living. I love you guys. I'll talk to you soon.